Just to set the scene, this was a joint appearance by these two secretaries, sitting secretaries, a very rare occurrence, and it was pulled together by Frank Sesno, who's a former CNN journalist and head of a big department at the George Washington University here in Washington. And now for the second year running, we've done these programs together, and it just so happened that this came right in the middle of this strategic reassessment of what to do in Afghanistan. So clearly a lot of our questions were about that. Now, they would not answer any direct questions about precisely where they're going on this strategy in terms of how many troops or not, in terms of deadlines or exit strategies or counterinsurgency versus counterterrorism, all those arguments that have been publicized. But when we asked them questions about the state of play in Afghanistan, about what was going on, it was very revealing as to the answers. For instance, General McChrystal has said that he needs many more troops. He's the commander in Afghanistan. If the Taliban are to be pushed back, he needs them within 12 months, he said. So we asked Secretary Gates, I asked him, does he think the Taliban has the momentum right now?
And the reality is that because of our inability and the inability, frankly, of our allies to put enough troops into Afghanistan, the Taliban do have the momentum right now, it seems.
And with that, we pressed him on whether that would mean that al-Qaeda would come back, as they had obviously post 9/11, and they're very concerned about al-Qaeda reconstituting itself. He also endorsed General McChrystal personally, saying that he was the one who had named him to be the commander in Afghanistan, and that his advice was being taken very seriously. He also addressed an issue that's rising with neighboring Pakistan. As you know, the U.S. has got an Afghan-Pakistan strategy, and the Pakistanis, particularly the Pakistani leadership, has been very distressed about this strategic review that's going on in Washington, saying that just the talk about this is sending shivers and shockwaves through their country, because it implies that the United States might have short-term, short-time goals in that region. And again, both Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Secretary of Defense Robert Gates reaffirmed their commitment to Pakistan and the region and said that they were not in this for the short term.
Now, Christiane, obviously there are many international issues facing the United States at the moment. What are some of the other things that you discussed with both secretaries?
Well, we obviously discussed Iran as well, because these are the two big issues that certainly this week and a couple of previous weeks have been dominating the national security debate and also the headlines. So we asked them what exactly do they believe was achieved at the Geneva talks that ended just at the end of the week on Thursday. What precisely was agreed between the US, Iran, and the other powers sitting at that table in Geneva? Did they actually agree to ship out their low-enriched uranium?
Well, there were three agreements. One, that there would be inspections, and those inspections are going forward, and they're going forward quickly, of the undisclosed site that the President and Prime Minister Brown and President Sarkozy announced a little over a week ago in Pittsburgh. They agreed that, in principle, the Iranians would ship out their LEU for reprocessing to be returned for their research reactor. There will be a team of experts meeting to determine exactly how that will be carried out within 10 days. And they agreed that there will be another meeting, which means that this process doesn't just drag on without any continuity.
So they struck quite an optimistic note. On the other hand, when I asked them about the low-enriched uranium, because that is the most important, or at least most striking part of what was achieved in Geneva, but there's been some confusion as to whether Iran actually did agree to this, they said, well, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens, and in the meantime, prepare ourselves for the alternatives and how to have incentives, but also disincentives if this doesn't work.